pleasure today to be talking with Colin Bell from COBIS, CEO of COBIS. Colin, do you want to just tell us what COBIS is? Because whereas you and I know all about COBIS, and you particularly know a lot about COBIS, some people don't, and they should. So tell us about COBIS.
Yeah, thank you very much, Helen. Thanks for the invitation to join you. It's a real honour to spend some time with you and audience who are tuned in as well. Well, COBIS, we are the leading association for British international schools worldwide. Membership base of about 300 schools in 80 odd countries. And we are a constituent member of the Independent Schools Council, so aligned, and within that network of friendly associations. And we represent our schools, our members based overseas. So we get involved in a whole host of lobbying, representation, professional development, safeguarding issues, safeguarding training. And also, I guess our primary objective is to quality assure schools based overseas, British schools. And maybe we'll talk about that in a little while, but that's through our accreditation and our compliance scheme.
So how are your members faring at the moment? I mean, they're across the world. What's going on? How are they coping?
Well, great question. I guess the honest answer to that is that they're coping in a very similar way to the high quality professionals that are based in our schools here in the UK, whether that's state schools or independent schools, multi-academy trusts. They are showing that customary resilience that we know that educators are capable of, and they're obviously adapting to difficult circumstances, very unpredictable circumstances, and they're doing the utmost to ensure safety, well-being, continuity of education for students, and also with consideration for families and staff as well being prioritised. But one of the key differences for our school leaders and our schools based in COBIS members overseas is the fact that there's a huge different dynamic in terms of the regulatory constraints or the guidance or the advice from ministries of education or governments or regional and local government as well. So I think that you'll see a diversity of what schools are having to do and what they're being told to do from different government advice. But ultimately, yeah, they are doing an amazing job in this truly difficult situation. And they're doing it with compassion, with drive, and with that commitment that one would expect.
And they are amazing schools, I think. I think it'd be fair to say that. I mean, certainly all the COBIS schools I've ever visited have been really great schools. British curriculum schools, yes, but not British as in exactly as they would be if they were in this country, in the UK. I mean, you talked there just a moment ago about accreditation. How do you make sure that they are good?
Well, thank you. We do that in a number of ways. First and foremost, we've got a very strict membership criteria, which you would expect. And we rely on high quality external validation of British schools overseas. And we do that through a number of ways. The primary route to membership is through our own patrons accreditation and compliance scheme. And that's something which very much is, I guess we've banned the word inspection from our COBIS vocabulary. Ours is based on a very much a long-term school improvement partnership arrangement, whereby we will have a non-judgmental scrutiny of evidence that schools have provided through a very straightforward cloud-based technology, which allows schools to put up evidence against each of the rigorous standards that our accreditation and compliance scheme has. We also see great merit in the DFE inspection scheme for British schools overseas. That's another route to membership. And that's something which COBIS actually called for. We lobbied for that back in 2011. And it would seem that with our own scheme, that's proven to be incredibly popular, as is the DFE scheme. Feedback from the schemes is that potentially ours is more internationally minded. Our standards are aligned to the United Nations Convention of Rights of the Child. But we do take the best of the BSO scheme and for example, ISI models as well.
Mm.
So yeah, it's true to say that not all schools have passed the accreditation process, but we always give schools guidance and help if they wish to be reassessed, basically. But yeah, it's funny, we operate the accreditation and compliance scheme all over the world, and we really are committed to keeping down the cost to our members as well.
Yes.
Therefore, we've trained up lead improvement partners all over the world, so there's no reliance on those long haul flights.
Yes.
Often it's in country, in region, and so we're doing our bit there for our commitment to environmental, reducing the negative impact of the environmental travel as well.
So what do you see as the major challenges and indeed the opportunities for COBIS schools, British curriculum schools across the world over the next few years?
Yeah, well, certainly challenges. If we can use our crystal ball and look past the pandemic, then the continued supply of high quality teachers to what is a growing market. Our colleagues at the Independent School Research Consultancy indicate that growth in international market is around about 6% a year. And also that is the same for the sector. Probably about 42% of the 10,000 plus international schools that are out there follow the British curricula, or based on the British curricula. So in order for that growth to continue, then high quality teachers is going to be required. And that's why one of the things that we're very much involved in is that initial teacher training for schools overseas. And we do that with a variety of partners, some of which are universities based here in the UK. Other challenges are connected to what does a competitive curriculum look like. So there are clearly changes that are underway connected to the curriculum, linked to examinations and assessments. And we know there are a lot of challenges connected to that at the moment. But the things which our schools are telling us is that it's a very competitive market out there. So, for example, there are other types of international schools, whether they offer American curricula as well. So it's just keeping that competitive edge, really.
It's really interesting. You said that so many schools, so many international schools offer the British curriculum. And I've seen, and you will have seen as well, that real hunger for British curriculum. And in a way, you almost have to go beyond the shores of the UK in order to appreciate the value that the UK education is seen as having in this day and age. I mean, do you think that because there's a worldwide reputation for British education, I mean, do you think that's warranted, that reputation?
Yeah, no, I definitely do. For example, British education, not only schools, we do enjoy an excellent global reputation for what is seen as a world-class educational offering, and that's across early years, schools, higher education. We've got a very strong presence in the international market. However, complacency is very dangerous, and therefore it's very important that we continue to make our offer fit for purpose, and obviously drawing on all the innovation that, for example, British EdTech providers can help and work with us on. And in terms of our reputation, it's not just around the curriculum and the output in terms of examinations, but it's also about our pastoral care and our commitment to safeguarding and well-being. Clearly at the moment, there is a deeper understanding about what it means to be mentally healthy, whether that's for staff or students. So all of those things will contribute to what I believe is an even more competitive offer. And that goes for the growth in students within our schools. We are actually seeing this phenomenon, which is called a flight to quality, whereby some of our British international schools are actually having an increase in admissions at the current time. And from research, it seems to be that that's based on some students and their families not necessarily getting the standard of education during the pandemic that they would be hoping for, and they're making investments and big sacrifices actually financially to enroll in a school which is giving, you know, the best continuity of education for children.
So what would you say to a member of staff in a UK school? So it could be a teacher, could be a bursar, could be a leader, could be administrator of some kind. What would you say to them if they were maybe thinking about going to work in an international school? What would you say?
Oh gosh, well, in a word, I'd say, like, go for it, you know, in a couple of words, I guess. It's such an amazing experience. If you pick the right school, that is, if you select the right school. Like any interview process, it's always a two-way street for you to find out as much as you can about your potential employer. It's not an easy thing, up in sticks and moving potentially to the other side of the world. But if you go to, for example, one of our member schools, there's every confidence that that school will be following a decent, supportive recruitment and induction program for you as a new member of staff. But if you're going overseas and you're thinking it'll be an easy experience and it'll be, you know, a bit of backpacking here and there, you're not going to be advised to apply to one of our schools. There are schools with high expectations, and that's what you would expect. They're very similar to schools here in the UK in the independent sector. There's a high level of pressure from parents and a high level of support as well, who are ultimately fee-paying parents. But we know from our teacher supply research, we've run it for the last couple of years. We're due to run it again actually this spring with more of a focus on how the pandemic has affected teacher supply. But there is a huge level of satisfaction of those teachers and leaders who've worked in our schools or who are continuing to work there. And it's just quite stark. The evidence is saying that teachers have gained so much from the cultural experience of being overseas, as well as the experience of schools with great resources as well. So, you know, we're always lobbying the British government to say teaching is an international qualification. It can take you overseas. It can take you everywhere. Why isn't that advertised at the point of, recruitment campaigns to get people into teaching initially? And also, for example, if you're in the medical profession or a lawyer, then your overseas service is really recognized. But that isn't necessarily the case when teachers are looking to move back from, say, Brunei to Birmingham or Lithuania to Liverpool. Then often schools don't recognize that they've been working hard overseas, that they've been an excellent, high-performing British international school. So yeah, these are just some of the things I would say is a benefit. And it's a really small network. People think, gosh, you know, COBIS, so many schools in 80 odd countries, but it's an excellent network. And certainly there's a great flexibility. If you do a good job, then you can move on from country to country and develop your career overseas.
And fundamentally then young people benefit because of the experience that you're bringing back and sharing. We can't educate people to be global citizens unless we are that ourselves. Yeah. Great. Well, Colin, thank you so much for this. Thank you very much indeed. And let's keep going onwards and upwards. Okay, take care then.
Thanks, Helen. Goodbye.
Bye.